And you guys may be seated and want to welcome you. My name is Benji. I'm the pastors here at Journey. It's an honor to have you here with us. And look to somebody beside you and say, get ready. Go ahead, tell somebody, get ready, because Christmas is coming this week, right? It's just around the corner, just a few days away. Also do this. I did this in first experience. Look to somebody beside you and say, you're a warrior. Go ahead, tell somebody they're a warrior. You came out in the weather, right? You chose to be here for Christmas weekend, even though the weather was a little crazy outside, windy and wet and all the above. And I want to say welcome and thank you for being a warrior to come and worship with us this weekend. And want to welcome those who are watching online as well that choose to worship with us, maybe wherever you are. Thank you for joining in. We're in this series called Making Room for What Matters, and I'll get into that in just a minute as we look at the message today and talking about making room for Christ. So I just want to share with you and say thank you for giving and being a part of our church family and what we've been able to do for the past several days. If you've been following on social media, we've been surprising people all over our community with random acts of kindness for 12 days of giving. And doing a lot of unique things, paying for oil changes, surprising people with oil changes, with groceries, or with toys and Christmas gifts for their kids or grandkids, and providing a meal for the night shift at the ER, things like that, just randomly showing acts of kindness. But one sticks out to me, I just wanted to share with you. We were in Walmart, and we're helping a lot of people with... one night we were there with groceries and some other things, and one night we were there doing some helping with toys for some parents. And this one individual or one family was in there shopping, and we were praying. You walk around, you're praying like, Lord, who do we need to help? Like, will you kind of direct us where we need to go with this? Who really needs this? And as we were looking around in the area, this individual, I saw them, and they were buying Christmas gifts for their kids. And I began to notice that most of the gifts were gifts that their kids need, not necessarily gifts that their kids want, if that makes sense. A lot of things that were needed, more than just the toys. There were other things as well, clothes and some things like that. And so I was like, I think this is the one. And so we kind of walked around, and I followed them to the cash register where they started checking out. And I know they were looking, going, well, I better call security. This dude's been following me for like the last 10 minutes. And he don't even have any, like, a buggy or anything. He's just following me around, like, what's he doing? And so I just kind of gradually, I'm like looking at stuff, trying to play it off. I'm not very good at that. And I know they were like, what are they doing? And so they start checking out. The family's checking out. And I was waiting for the right time, and as they were almost done, I said, excuse me. I said, do you mind if I pay for this? And they just kind of looked at me like, you joking? I was like, it's not me. I said, it's Journey. It's the Journey Church family wants to wish you a Merry Christmas, and we've been doing some acts of kindness, and we just want to do this for you and tell you God loves you, and we do too, and just want to provide this. And then they realized it was serious, and they were trying to hold their composure together because it was really a need. And while they were checking out, you could tell they were trying to count it up to make sure they were good. And as they finished up, went to pay for it, when I looked at it, it ended up being a whole lot more than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, Lord, this is exactly what we needed to do. And so we did, and they were very thankful, but you could just tell with the emotions that was in that few moments that it meant a lot because they needed it. And I share that with you to just be reminded as we go through this Christmas season that we're blessed with a lot in the lives that we have. And as we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, when making room for what matters, one of the ways that we can make room for what matters is we talked about two handfuls. And when I have two handfuls, it's chaos. When I have one handful, the Bible says that we can have peace, tranquility. It all depends on what I want to balance. And when I have two handfuls, I'm not able to help anybody. I'm not able to support somebody through something. I'm trying to balance everything, and I ended up eventually, if I'm trying to do that, I'm going to start dropping stuff. But when I have one handful firm of what I have one handful to be able to live in peace and to enjoy. So we started with that, and we talked about that. We talked about mentally, not just with physical things, but mentally making preparation, making room for what matters. right? The stress and things that we do to get ourselves in a bind, to release some of that, to get our mind off of some of those things, that we can be the Christ follower that God's called us to be, and make room for what matters most. And this morning is no different. Making room for what matters most, and what is most important is Christ. And making room for what matters, and it's Him. And if Christ is at the center of our heart, if Christ is at the center of my life, then He'll be in control. And so therefore, if I want to make room for what matters most, one of the things that I have to release out of my life is control, in order for God to be at the center. So look with me on the screen in Luke chapter 1, verses 26 and following. It says, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a village in Galilee, to a virgin named Mary. She was engaged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of King David. Gabriel appeared to her and said, "Greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you." Now, verse 29. What are those first 3 words in verse 29? Say them with me. Confused and what? Disturbed. Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Now, some of you are going, I'd be a lot more than confused and disturbed if an angel showed up, right? I'd be like, what is this? But as a result of this angel showing up and saying, hey, look, greetings, favored woman. You've been favored. The Lord is with you. Well, she was confused, disturbed. The interruption that was there, like, whoa, wait a minute. Well, I didn't expect this. What is this? What does this mean? Why are you here? Why are you telling me I'm favored? The Lord is with me. Confused and disturbed, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Maybe for some of us this Christmas season, we're asking, why does this have to happen? Maybe for some of us in here, we're confused. You're disturbed by maybe an event that's happened in your life, or maybe with your family, or you're at work, whatever it may be. Maybe you're confused, disturbed. You're like, man, I wish things were different. I wish it could be different right now. I don't understand. I wish I could just fix this problem. I'm trying to figure it all out. Why is this happening to me? Right? That's what confused and disturbed means. Why is this happening to me? Maybe some of you are asking some of those questions even right now, like, why is this happening? I wish it was different than this. I don't understand. Verse 30, don't be afraid, Mary, the angel told her, for you have found favor with God. Verse 31, you will conceive and give birth to a son. And at one moment, you're like, okay, yeah, I get that. Later on down the road, I'm engaged to Joseph. One day, maybe we'll have a kid. Yeah, okay, I'm good. I have a son. And you will name him Jesus. Well, that wasn't the name I had picked out for my future kids. You're going to name him Jesus. Verse 32. He will be very great and will be called the Son of the Most High. Now, at that moment, she's like, this is different. I said, you're not talking about me and Joseph. What do you mean, right? What's going on? Verse 34. Mary asked the angel, but how can this happen? I'm a virgin. Like, you don't understand. I'm waiting on Joseph. How could this even, what you're saying doesn't make sense. Verse 35, the angel replied, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the baby to be born will be holy, and he will be called the Son of God. So you can imagine the weight that's being dealt. Like what? Confused. Her life is about to be disrupted. Don't understand. But in verse 38, this was her response. Mary responded with this, I am the Lord's servant. May everything you have said about me come what? Come true. It's like, hey, I don't get it, but I am the Lord's servant, so whatever, if the Lord knows best, if God knows best, if this is what God wants, may everything you have said about me come true. In the ESV version, verse 38, look on the screen with me. Here's what it says. Same verse. Then Mary said, behold, the maidservant of the Lord. Watch this. let it be to me according to your word. That word there, let it be. Lord, whatever it is, let it be. So let me ask you a question, and we'll get back to this. How many of you in the room, maybe those watching online as well, but how many of you that's in here would say, hey, Benji, I like to control things. I like things to be, handled, and I like to control things. I have an issue with controlling. You need to raise your hand now. Some of you don't want to raise your hand because you feel like I'm controlling you by asking you to raise your hand, right? You're like, I'm not raising my hand. But seriously, you say, I like to control things, raise your hand, right? Many of us in here. Some of you are, though, you're changing around. You're like, I'm not controlling. I'm not. I'm just thoroughly organized. I'm not controlling at all. I'm just aggressively helpful to people. No, I'm not controlling at all. I'm not. I just have it together. Some of you are wound so tight that you make coffee nervous when you get near it, right? I mean, you're just like, you have to have everything right where you want it to be perfect. And some things rightfully so, right? With your kids when they're young. You kind of control what they wear, hey, you're not wearing that. Oh, no. Go change. You want your hair like what? No. But we continue to hold on. Oh, no, this is what you're going to make on the SAT. Oh, no, this is what you really need to major in college. And then the big one. Oh, no, you ain't marrying him or her. Who's their parents? Who's their grandparents? Like you're Googling their name, looking for like history of what they've done, right? Who are they? I mean, I'm controlling who is coming into our family. You're not, no, our family is perfect the way, no, they're not doing that. And before you know it, we kind of carry it over into them being adults. Even when they get married and move off. Oh no, you don't raise your kids like that. You don't cook your turkey like that. You don't put the dishes in like that, right? We continually try to give our input and be aggressively helpful to them. Not only with our kids, it's our spouse too, right? Don't chew your food like that. Don't do, this is not what no, you don't, that ain't how let me finish the sentence for you, right? Before you know it, we're just helping others. Not only with that, but the big life events that happen in life. God, this is what I want you to do. This is really when it needs to happen. It needs to happen on this date, before this date, but after this, and this is the perfect time for this to happen. So God, if you could just line all of that up, this is where I want it to happen. And we want to control our image. And this is one that we're really good at. And social media has helped us perfect it, right? With social media, we can give people the image we want them to think that we are. You can go to Instagram, or you got all these filters to help with the image, to create the image that you want to create, the way that you want it to look. And so, if we want to control our image, then we're able to present our image in just the way that we want to present it, the way that we want everyone else to see it in perfection. Now, this week and last week, it's Christmas season, so what are one of the things you get a lot of in the mail from your friends and family? Christmas cards with what on the front of the card? A picture of the family, right? We've been getting them for the past couple of weeks. You've been getting them for the past couple of weeks. Perhaps some of you send them out for the past few weeks. But what we present in that Christmas card is a picture of the family, typically what? We're all smiling. It always gets me, though, when I look at pictures, because I have 3 kids. When you take a picture, that picture's meant to be like for memories for you to have, and everybody's smiling. But for the 5 minutes prior to that picture being taken, all hell's about to break loose, right? You're like, smile, don't smile. No, smile, move your hair, fix your hair, straighten up, open your eyes. Right, you're telling the kid, hey, Braden, do this. Briggs, stand up. No, don't pick your nose. No, don't do this. Don't tie your shoes. No, look up. Your shoe's not going to be in the... And, I mean, it's just chaos. But then it's like, geez, we're good. Everybody's perfect. We can present the image we want to present. We can control the image, so it makes us feel good to be able to control those things in the life that we want others to see. But here's what we know. The more you try to control, the more afraid you are of losing control. And the more afraid you are of losing control, you will try to control more. And as a result, it's a cycle that continues and continues and continues, and you're trying to hold it together and control everything around you to protect you, to protect them. And what you begin to realize is you can't control it all. And the desire to control is deeply rooted in a lack of faith. Now, we don't want to call it that. We just want to say a lack of, the control is, I want to help things out. But in reality, a desire to control things is rooted in a lack of faith. And so what we begin to see is when you try to control things, you will begin to overestimate your power to be able to control the things you want to control. You'll overestimate it thinking, I got this. Guys in the room, listen, that's where we are. I got this. We're good. Don't worry about it. We can handle it. We want to fix things. We want to handle it, make everything right. But when you begin to overestimate your ability to control those things, then you begin to underestimate the power of God in your life. By saying, God can't do this, I have to. So when you begin to try to control everything, you begin to underestimate what God can do in your situation and in your life. And so we have to realize we don't have to have the power to control everything, but you do have the power to be able to surrender everything. To surrender it all. To be willing to give it up. Now, some of you in the room just heard that story with Mary, and she's discovering what's about to happen. She's going to give birth to Jesus, the Son of God. And some of you are going, easy peasy. That's easy for her. She's Jesus' mom. Like, come on. Like, you're talking about having faith and letting go of control. Mary's Jesus' mom. I mean, that's easy for her. She's the mother of Jesus. She's got it together. She has it all together. She's got Jesus with her every day. She's good. But let's look at reality for just a moment. She's a teenage girl at the moment. Many believe she was between the age of 13 and 15. Has her life planned out ahead of her, what her future would look like, her hopes, her dreams, writing down her last name and her future, creating a meaningful future, preparing, the fears that come along with that, the pressure that comes along with it, like any other girl. Like, what's my life going to look like one day? And when she lived, whether you realize it or not, she had more pressure in some ways than we do even today. You say, well, how would she have more pressure? Well, she was in a small community, not able to travel, they didn't have a university down the road where a bunch of people come in from all over and have a lot of people to be able to meet and get to know and have friends. No internet, no eHarmony, Christian Mingle, whatever all those others are. There's no social media. None of that is available, so her choices are limited as far as being in a small town. And with them being limited, she has a list of some non-negotiables, right? Some of you, maybe before you got married, you had a list of some things you prayed for, things that you looked for, right? Well, I pray that they'll be able to support me, support my family. For this culture, their future depended on it. During this time, whoever they married, it would set up what their future would look like. So they've got some ideas there. I want somebody who's a hard worker, strong hands, but a soft heart. Someone who will provide for me. Someone who's humble but yet bold and confident to be able to lead, not dominate. There's a difference between dominating and leading. To be the leader of the home. To be decisive but yet flexible when things happen. To not lose it. To have vision, goals, a future, to plan out, to look for, taken care of, to feel safe. All of those things, providing a future. And then we could go on and on with your list. Every one of us in here are different. Maybe she had on there someone who will hold my hand and take long walks and, whatever it may be. And she had all of her plans lined up. We're going to get married. We're going to have a couple of kids. We're going to have a dog, maybe a cat. We'll watch Netflix together. We'll have coffee, sit by the fire. All these things that you imagine up, that you dream about or look for. She's got her things that she's dreaming about, meeting Mr. Right. Maybe he proposes at the Bethlehem Bridge. There's a photographer there to get it on Instagram, making a post, letting everyone know what's happening. I mean, you can imagine it modern day, right? They're going to get married at the Jerusalem chapel. We're going to have a reception in the garden. Whatever it may be, we're going to have a good time. And an angel appears and says, hey, you're going to be with a child. Disturbed and confused and like, what? I had all of my plans. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I expected. In fact, this is quite the opposite of what I was looking to, what I was looking for. Similar to us. Some of us have plans. We're like, well, we're going to have 3 kids. And you have 3 kids. And then 10 years later, you find out you're having a 4th kid. You're like, this wasn't planned. Maybe for others, you have a desire to have 3 or 4 kids, and later you have trouble conceiving. It's not what I planned. Maybe company decides to downsize and you don't understand if you're going to have a job or not. And you're barely making it as you are, where you're at now. Don't understand. Maybe you haven't slept in a while. So many things going through your mind. So many uncertainties. You don't understand. Maybe relational issues, marriage issues going on, and you can't control your spouse. You can't make them choose what you're trying to fix. Don't understand. You have your Christmas and family comes over and Cousin Eddie shows up. How many of you have a Cousin Eddie in your family? Raise your hand, right? The Cousin Eddie that shows up, right? They're like, kids, stay away from Cousin Eddie. Don't listen to any of his jokes. Just stay. Cousin Eddie shows up in the family like, man, I don't understand. Family, all of those things that happen. And like Mary, we don't know the rest of the story. Mary says, hey, whatever you say, God, let it be. Whatever you want me to do, let it be. I have my vision and my dreams, and I don't know what Joseph's going to do now. I don't know what this is going to mean. But whatever you want, let it be. You can imagine her mind flashing forward into the future, like, what's Joseph going to think? He'll end up canceling the wedding. Wedding's off. Reception's off. The party's off. All of the honeymoon, got my deposit back. I'm going to dump her. That would be, in their culture, what they would do is put her away. And so Mary has to make a decision. It's a decision that every one of us in this room and those watching online have to make. If you're going to make room for what matters, what is it? She had to choose between her plans and God's purpose. We have to choose between our plans, and we can plan and have things planned out, but then we have to realize in our plans that God has a purpose, and His purpose should always trump over our plans or whatever our plans might be. She had her dreams versus God's destiny over her life. Her desire to control and have a future versus God's calling on her life. And even though she didn't understand the calling, she didn't understand the plan, she chose to trust His purpose and be willing to trust His hand through it. And you can imagine her grabbing onto her life with her fist and holding it as tight as she can, saying, these are all of the things that I desired. I found Joseph. He's the one. Our future together. And she's trying to grasp and hold it together, and God says, just hang on. Trust me. What do you need to do? I got to let it go. And Mary opens her hands and says, Lord, let it be to me what you're saying. I've got a vision and a plan and hopes of a future, but if this is the plan, if this is what you want, God, to let it be. Let it be done to me, whatever it may be, not knowing the future, not knowing what the future may bring. God, I'm going to trust you. So here's my question for you to write down. What are you trying to control that you can't? What are you trying to control that is out of your control? Maybe you want to personalize it. What am I trying to control that I can't? Can't do it. And what the answer to that question will lead you to what it is that you need to surrender. The things that you can't control are the things that you need to surrender. Because the longer you hang on to them, the longer you're going to be miserable. Because it's miserable when you're trying to control something and you can't do it. It's a miserable place to be. It's like playing the video game and the controller messes up and the A button won't work and you're trying to do something and you can't make it and you just get frustrated. Same in life. You're trying to control everything, hold it together, and when you can't, you begin to get frustrated and angry and upset, and you'll be a miserable person to hang around. What is it that you're controlling that you can't control that you need to let go of? Maybe relationships. God, I give this to you because I can't control their response. I'm trusting you with whatever may happen. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's an image you're hanging on to, your kid's future. I don't know what it is. For all of us in here, I'm sure it's a number of different things that we have to be willing to release out of the clenched fist that you're trying to hold it all together on. Because there's no such thing as a partial surrender. Well, I'm like 87% surrendered. I'm like halfway. There's no such thing as partial. It's fully surrendered. God, I trust you to save my soul. I trusted you with that, and you saved me. But Lord, let me control my kids and kind of direct them the way that I think they need to go. Or this, God, you saved me from my past mistakes, but just stay with me and let me direct myself where I want to go into the future. I'm trusting you you've forgiven me, but Lord, let me kind of go this way and you just walk with me, right? What's the issue? Control. I've got to hang on to those things. And the desire to control is rooted in a lack of what? It's the lack of faith. It's when we have a lack of faith and trust, and it's when we try to hang on to those things. And everything in the culture that you and I live in this week, in this community, on TV and you on the internet, everything in our culture invites us to live contrary to the gospel. To live different. You take charge, you take control, you make it happen, you find a way. And while we should be aggressive and move forward in that, we still have to realize that God's ultimately in control of that. What does the Scripture say? In order to find your life, you have to be willing to what? Lose it. How do you lose it? You surrender it. To follow Jesus means to surrender control. To make room for Jesus, you have to be willing to release control. And surrender isn't a one-time event. Surrender is not the fact, man, I surrendered my life to Jesus when I was 16 years old. I surrendered my life to Jesus 2 years ago. I'm saved. I'm a Christ follower. Surrender is not just an event. Surrender is daily. Every day I wake up, I have to surrender, because if I don't, I want to control things. I want it to go my way, the way I think it needs to happen. I want to hang on to it and try to put it in the direction I want it to go. Surrender is a daily choice, saying, God, I surrender this day to you. I can't control the things around me, but what I can control is my decisions, and my decisions is to surrender to you under your authority and what you want for me. Imagine Mary's on the run, right? Let's fast forward just a minute. They've got Mary. Joseph's trusted her, and he understands the vision of what's happening. And they have Jesus, and what happens? They're on the run, trying to protect Jesus. And while they're trying to protect him, he gets a little bit older as a boy. They end up losing Jesus. You ever lost a child for a few minutes? You panic. They lost him. He's up in the temple and teaching. And where's Jesus at? We've lost the Son of God. Oh snap! Right? We're in trouble. They losing. Kids picking on him. Maybe as an adult, those wanting to crucify him, beating. Put him on a cross, kill him. And Mary's going, I said, let it be. Whatever you want, may it happen. And I trusted you, God. I trusted you, and you gave me this beautiful child, and I trusted you. And I've done the best that I can raising him on this earth. And I know, God, that he's yours. You are God, our Father, and I trust in you. But Lord, now my son, he's going to the cross. Lord, I know he's yours, but I trusted you. Why? Not fully understanding the whole story. Many times things that are going on right now, some of you are going, why? You can't see the whole story. You can't see what's going to happen next and understand the bigger picture of what would take place. So you can imagine Mary going, God, I'm trusting you now. Even though I'm about to lose him, God, I trust you, knowing that you know what is best. If you want to experience one of the most freeing moments in your life, it's letting go of what you can't change. Letting go of what you can't control and saying, God, I can't. You can. But I'm tired of being miserable. I'm letting go, and I'm going to trust you. In other words, let it be. With every head bowed, every eye closed.